Hello, today's video is going to introduce you to a devilishly clever little trick for kicking off and rounding off your imaginative writing exam responses. Now it's sort of like a sister video for another video that I knocked out, taking this imaginative writing task and producing a beautiful paragraph on the back of it. The sort of paragraph that would have, Anthony Horowitz or Jacqueline Wilson weeping salt tears of envy. So, for an idea of how to put together winning paragraphs from a plan, watch that video. This video, however, is going to take an idea from the examiner's criteria that really troubles me because so many students fail to address it. And of course, that adversely, negatively affects their grade. And that line is this. The examiner said he wants to see, in the form of the writing, he wants to see your response structured with a clear introduction and conclusion. In other words, start, middle and finish. Now Mr. Taylor is all about the easy wins. I'm like electricity really. I'm always looking for that path of least resistance. As my old dad used to say, KISS, keep it simple, stupid. And I've thought of a great method that addresses this idea of introducing and concluding your piece in a very no frills 1 to 2 line style. And I call it bookending, though I dare say there's other things that you could call it. Now, bookend, as you know, are two things either side of a row of books that help kind of prop them up or support them. And you'll notice that bookends tend to be quite similar or identical to each other. And that is the basis for my oh so simple bookending trick. 1 or 2 lines taking either identical phrasing or a similar idea to start and round off your response. Well, do you know what, Mr. Taylor? Enough of your ear-numbing drivel. Let's have a little bit of practice to go with this theory. Maybe that'll clarify what you're honking on about. Fair enough. Well, the video I did last time focused on a trip to the fairground. That was my exciting experience. So I needed a couple of lines at the start and the end to round off, my description of going on the different rides, the ghost train, I had a whiz on a roller coaster, blah-de-blah-de-blah. So, have a look at this and drink in its unalloyed beauty. And here it is. Let's have a quick read and then we'll think about why it's so good. Bear in mind, it's just one sentence that launches us into the entire narrative, the entire response about the trip to the fairground. Now that the bruises dotting my face have receded, I realise that last week's trip to Wonderland was the most heart-hammering fun of my life. Okay then, the reason this is so effective is because it draws the reader in. He is thinking, the examiner is thinking, well, how do you get these bruises? And I guess, of course, there's 2 answers to that. There could either be some sort of crash on the rides, maybe, a butt me head on a roller coaster, get a black eye, mash a few teeth in. But of course, keep it PG certificate. I don't think the examiner wants to hear about limbs getting ripped off or heads getting lopped off, spurting blood. None of that 18 certificate malarkey. You'll notice as well, a few crossings out, just because of course when I'm writing, I'm always trying to improve my vocabulary, improve the quality of my piece. And of course got a comma in the right place too. So that's our introduction. I could, as I say, talk about in the last bit of my response how I get involved in the crash. But I think a funnier thing to do, maybe a clever thing to do, would be do this. Maybe to suggest I'm such a wally that, getting off those teacups rides for the 5-year-olds, just tripped and cracked my head or something. So that's what I'm going to go with. Have a look at this. And here's that conclusion. After, of course, I've written a couple of paragraphs describing going on the different rides. And the bruises on my face? Well, that still makes me cringe. I tripped over getting off the teacup ride. Boom tish. Now, I'm not saying the examiner's going to crack a rib, laughing his heart out of this, but it's going to elicit a smirk. It's a clever ending. And again, you can see, bookending. I've taken the bruises at the start and related to the bruises at the end as well. It rounds off, it creates a sense of coherence or wholeness to the text. You've got a clear start, middle and end, oh so beloved by the examiner. I'm just going to give you another example very, very quickly, just to see how you can almost duplicate, copy and paste a introduction and conclusion to bookend very effectively. Now imagine my exciting experience was going into an abandoned house in a dark and gloomy wood with my mate Gary and just exploring. And I reckon a great intro for that kind of piece would be this. Again, look, it's just one line. In the choking gloom, one chink of light played on the knife's jagged blade. And then, of course, I start my response. It all started so innocently. Gary and I are exploring the abandoned house, prizing planks of wood off the windows, blah-de-blah-de-blah. So you've got my solid introduction here, which again is engaging the examiner because he's, in theory, going to be desperate to read on to see how and when I find myself looking down the wrong end of some nutter's knife. Now, underneath that, let's put the conclusion. So, there's my intro. I described going around the different rooms with Gary, maybe building up this aura of suspense or anxiety. And then in the basement, I come eyeball to eyeball with some foaming at the mouth wackaloon clutching his knife. And again, cut and paste. In the choking gloom, one chink of light played on the knife's jagged blade. And then just a little bit at the end there, I just prayed it would be quick, as in I'm going to get killed here. So that's a clever way to bookend or round off a narrative describing a visit to a haunted house, which winds up with me getting knifed by a nutter. Could be Gary's the nutter, maybe he's been a homicidal lunatic on the QT for years, or it's just some gibbering maniac who lurks in the basement of that kind of property. Either way, you can see that bookending is a fantastic way to engage a reader, to give a sense of shape or wholeness to the exam response, which I guarantee is going to notch a few more grades out of your response. Yeah, that's bookending. That's how we do it in the old country. Best of luck in the exam.